Hi, I'm Zach, and today I'm going to talk about the worst thing you can do for the vegan movement as a vegan, in my humble opinion. So, the other day I uploaded a video showing the type of plant-based meals I eat, and I was showing just authentically how I'm transitioning from processed foods to healthier whole foods and just showing what I eat, because my channel is a mixture of original music with a vegan message, animal rights and such, but also showing my personal life and struggles and my growth as a human. And I got a comment from a very unique individual who I strongly agree with and who I think is in a state of mind that is very toxic and is only harming the movement. And it kind of shows the broader problem of the vegan movement, and in my opinion. So this person started leaving comments saying that I'm apathetic, that I need to repent, that I'm being selfish, that I'm the most evil on this planet, because the most evil thing is to have the key and to not use it. And they're talking about how the fact that I'm not creating content saying that life is the most important thing in life, the fact that I'm not only talking about the animal exploitation, the animal abuse, only talking about that all the time, then I am doing the most evil thing, which is ignoring it, which is not talking about it and sharing it with people, which is the most evil thing when a good person knows the truth but doesn't talk about it. And so for me, at first I was caught off guard. I was like, what is this? Why is this person sending me such hateful, blaming energy? As a vegan, someone who's been vegan for 8 years, someone who's done street activism and talked to people, strangers, for hours, someone who's uploaded hundreds of videos, many of which are talking about what they're referring to. I write music. I've written over 100 songs with a strong vegan message that's very, very point blank and just showing the truth. And yeah, so I was caught off guard. I'm like, why is this person wasting their time blaming me, saying that I'm not doing enough, whenever I've invested my life towards veganism, because I'm very passionate about it, because I agree that I don't agree with their very toxic, one track minded, black and white state of mind. I think that's very toxic. I think it's only going to drain them and their mental stability. It's only going to isolate them. But I do agree being vegan is a moral obligation, and I strongly agree with that. I strongly agree that everyone should be vegan and everyone can be vegan, and we should be, and I talk about it passionately. But this person's way of communicating that and saying it with such, and look, I do think huge urgency is needed, and I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong or that this type of way of communicating about it is wrong all the time. Having a strong, no watered down way of communicating for the truth can be very effective. But whenever it comes to reaching the entire world and the masses, I don't think it's that effective. I think it will isolate and only create people to act in spite against vegans. It will create people to feel like they have to defend themselves, and then they'll go even more into the habits against veganism. But at the same time, I mean, I came from that state of mind whenever I first went vegan. I was very angry, and I was basically saying the same things to everyone. I was telling them they have no excuses, and I still believe that, but the way I present it, I do it with more empathy and compassion for everyone, even the people that may not see it the way that I see it, and with more humbleness, and not in a way to where I come off as arrogant, like I'm always right. which is how this person is coming off, and I'm not sure if they notice that. In fact, I'm pretty sure they don't notice that. And so I continued to converse with this person and their logic, and I showed them the faults of their logic. In reality, I showed them my perspective, and they were using Chat GPT, and so I used Chat GPT, and I left a whole bunch of comments on their one video on their channel, and yeah, they were very strong, and as far as they didn't budge, and they just kept saying the same thing. You're being evil, this and that. Although they did offer to do a phone call with me, but I turned it down because the way they were communicating, I felt as though the phone call was only going to be them further communicating like that. And I have no desire to communicate with someone who's already sent so much hateful, blaming, toxic energy, who seems so arrogant, who's not willing to compromise at all in their communication. And so nothing against this person. I hold compassion for this person because I really think that their state of mind is going to ruin their mental stability. And it'll bring them much suffering and the people around them much suffering. And I really believe it's not going to help the vegan movement. It will actually harm it. And by the time they realize this, it'll be too late. Or not. Hopefully they realize it sooner than later. But I've seen this in the vegan movement also. You know, people who are very passionate, but they go into restaurants and they're screaming, meat is murder, and they're throwing fake blood on, well, it is fake blood. Fake blood paint, red paint on people, and they're doing things with absolutely no compassion, just anger, which is valid. I totally get it. I've been in that state of mind. Sometimes I go back to that state of mind whenever I'm not healthy, whenever I'm not taking care of my mind and my body. But that is not the best way to cause an impact, to inspire someone to change and transform how they live, to make someone compassionate and actually make conscious choices. It has its place. It does help. I don't think that one way, a more subtle way with compassion for all, like I'm trying to do, is the best way. And I don't think that having a no watered down approach, just straight up truth with passionate anger, is the best way either. I think they both have their place. But whenever one person says this is the only way, and if you're not doing this, you're not vegan, you're the most evil in the world, like just this very thick energy, it only causes more isolation and suffering. And the arrogance and only makes people not want to listen to you more and not believe anything you're saying. They only see you as an unstable human being who's trying to project their belief onto other people, but so you can feel more control in life, so you can feel like you're right, even though you might actually feel in your heart that you are right and that it's the right thing to do, and so you do it unapologetically. But is it really the right thing to do? And look, I strongly support and appreciate and admire and have been inspired by vegan activists like Joey Carbstrong and Vegan Gains and Earthling Ed, but even them, I feel like they're not this far into logic, and yeah, they're smarter about it. They're not just straight up like, there's a spectrum of people and how far they go into this passionate anger. And then there's a spectrum of people who go the other way of being more lenient towards the non-vegans and less hateful and blaming towards them. And I'd like to think that I'm leaning more towards the passionate anger, but I'm doing it with compassion, because not anger, but I don't like to water down the truth. I attempt and try, I put in a lot of effort to, whenever I do talk about veganism, I make it very clear that I believe it's a moral obligation. And whenever I do talk to people about it, I tell them why this suffering is not justified, and the fact that we have a choice to not forcibly breed animals and exploit them and use them. Then we really shouldn't, and it's an abomination and an act against our humanity, and it's horrible. But in my presentation over the years, I've tried really hard to get better at it, and doing it in a way to where people don't feel blamed and attacked, but instead they feel uplifted and inspired, and they feel the compassion within themselves. And that's just my approach. And I've done this with music, because music is what I love to do, and it's been a wonderful tool to inspire people and, transform their mood and their consciousness, their state of mind, and how they think. And that's me. I've gotten to know this about this mind and this body, and everything that I've gone through. That's where I'm at in this life. And so I still have that inside of me. I still have the capability to go down the street with a screen that shows slaughterhouse footage and talk to the people as they walk by and ask them why they're not vegan and what they think of this footage, and if they're willing to change and what's holding them back from changing, and talking to them straight up about the truth and what the animals are going through. That's in me. But the way I do it is with compassion for even the person I'm talking to, even the most evil person in the world, or the most misguided person, the most spiteful, angry meat eater. I hold compassion for them too, because I find that to be the most effective. That seems to get more people to actually change, to actually be transformed. It actually spreads more light, more love and conscious decisions inside of this world. And so I would say in another 10 years, I imagine this person is going to be burnt out. If they continue to have this state of mind where they're very arrogant, they're thinking they're the only one that's right, and they're saying everybody else is evil around them for not always talking about the moral obligation to be vegan, to not always talk about how life is the most important thing in life, and anything else that you do, if you don't do that always, then you're evil. If you keep that state of mind, first of all, you're not going to have much energy. You're not going to be able to reach as many people, because you're not going to be uploading as many videos. You're not going to have as much energy or desire to go out and talk to people about this to inspire them every single day. You're going to get burnt out pretty quickly. So I imagine in 10 years, I will have uploaded another couple thousand videos, probably. Like, I'll go from about 1,000 videos uploaded to maybe 3,000 videos uploaded in 10 years or more, because it's just going to keep snowballing, and I'll just keep getting better at effectively sharing the truth and inspiring people with compassion. But this person, I imagine, will be burnt out and will likely change how they communicate. And I hope that they see it sooner than later, because I imagine it's only creating suffering and isolation inside of their life. So I would urge you, if you are a vegan who is spreading this message with only hate and blaming and having no compassion, and of course your emotions are valid and your logic is pretty sound. But just about every logic has another side, another type of logic, like the logic that I've explained in this video, how it's actually isolating you and it's not actually impactful, which means you're actually causing more life and more to be killed and more suffering, because you're not reaching the amount of people you could be reaching if you presented the message in a better way. But your emotions are valid, and I urge you to simply look at it from the other side, to drop the arrogance and the thought that it's completely right, and that your emotions being valid means that it's the truth, it's the only truth, and this way of communicating is the only way to go about it, because it is really only causing more suffering. It is not helping. But that's my humble opinion that I've seen through life experience. And I really hope this person, I mean, they might be right. Maybe I should change to my entire life and transform it back to like my early vegan days, whenever I was very, well, not necessarily angry, but I was angry, but I wasn't always angry. Sometimes I was just communicating like this because I thought it was the right thing to do. Just very harsh, very stern, no watered down, saying people are horrible people and they're evil. Even vegans, other vegans who are trying to help the movement. No, I'm not going to go back to that. It just doesn't make logical sense. It just doesn't feel right in my heart. It feels counterintuitive. But I was trying to be unbiased there, saying that, maybe I'm wrong. But maybe I am. I mean, this mind and this body can be wrong. It's not the exact truth. It's my own perspective. But I would strongly urge any vegans in that state of mind to try to look at it from a different perspective. At least give yourself some space, especially if you're feeling isolated and depressed and burnt out. Because there's another way. I found another way to share the message and to not get burnt out and to be uplifted and have more energy. So, thank you for watching. For the animals! Woo!